G'day battlers, and welcome back to another Pokemon Go Timeless Cup PvP video. And in this video we're going to be going through the most important thing in everyone's teams this month, the starter Pokemon. So you have to pick a mandatory starter Pokemon, and that means it's important to know what you're working with. You have to go through, look at all the options, see what best works for your team, or pick one that is really good in the meta, build around it. So before we do dive into it, it's a pretty long video, so I'd appreciate if you go ahead and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the future Timeless Cup goodness, and let's get into it. So, a good place to start was PvPoke, and here I've listed all of the starter Pokemon that are ranked in the top 20. So there's 7 here, and that's a little over 1 in 3 being starters out of that top 20, which is, pretty significant. They've got some really good power behind them, especially with those Community Day moves, and if you weren't aware, this Community Day coming up on the 14th and 15th is going to be eligible to get any of these Community Day moves from 2018 or 2019. So if you've got your cup after the Community Day, you are set. You're not going to be missing any of these moves. And yeah, let's just jump into it. So I will go through them in order from Venusaur down to Blaziken. The timestamps for each of them are in the description below, so if you want to skip to one in particular. I will also briefly talk about the other ones at the very end, so stick around for that speed round. And yeah, let's get into it. So, starting us off, Venusaur is ranked number 1 on PvPoke, and for good reason. With Vine Whip, Frenzy Plant and Sludge Bomb, it is just a powerhouse, and there's a reason it's been used in every single cup it's been eligible for. From Open Great League to Jungle Cup to Twilight Cup, it's just everywhere. And so, in this cup in particular, it beats down every non-ice water type, so the water types that aren't also ice types. So that means it beats down Quagsire, Blastoise, Lanturn, Ludicolo, Swampert, Whiscash, Rainy Castform and Kingdra. It also is able to dominate most of the other grass types in the meta, so Blossom, Meganium, Sceptile, Gloom, Ivysaur and Victreebel. And it's also able to conquer Glalie and Flygon, just kind of because. And it does have 6 ties, which I've covered in that little bubble at the bottom at the top left of that loss box rectangle, half of the screen. So it does tie against Banette, Blaziken, Froslass, Haunter, Celio, and obviously against itself too. I have run all of this in the 1 shield scenario, and actually I probably should have mentioned that these are all of the Pokemon in PvPoke's Timeless Cup meta. So these are the Pokemon that it thinks is the meta, everything on this screen. And into the losses, you've got losses against the fire types. Makes sense, doesn't it? You've got Typhlosion, Sunny Castform, Typhlosion, Ninetales, Charizard. Skuntank's also there because he's got the flamethrower if you want it, but he kind of fits more into the poison type, which the poisons also tend to beat him. So there's Mach, Drapion. Drapion actually beats him with both Infestation and with Ice Fang. Either move going to be able to beat down Venusaur. And then overall Venusaur just also loses to Plant Wormadam, Beedrill, Venomoth, Dustox, Snowy Castform, Dragonair, Shelgon, and Lapras. Forgot Lapras. So it does lose to Lapras and Dragonair, which isn't great, but that Frenzy Plant damage, it really kicks through. So moving on, we can get straight into comparing that against another grass type, Meganium. Ranked number 3 on PvPoke with only Dragonair separating the two, Meganium runs a similar moveset with Vine Whip and Frenzy Plant, but then instead of Sludge Bomb, it has Earthquake. So some real good damage if you can get that through. It shares a lot of the same matchups because it's, very similar with Frenzy Plant. It actually has the same number of wins, losses and draws as Venusaur. The only difference is that Meganium now wins against Infestation Drapion, wins against Lapras, Torkoal, Dragonair and Shelgon, trading those for losses to Venusaur, Gloom, Sceptile, Ivysaur and Glalie. So kind of throwing away some of the grass matchups, but it really picks up Lapras and Dragonair, which is some major plays in this cup. Like, every team is going to have Lapras and Dragonair. So I think that alone makes a really good case for Meganium as your starter pick. We do have to go through the losses it picks up now though, instead that Venusaur didn't have. Meganium actually also ties up against Ice Fang Drapion instead of losing, but it loses to Blaziken instead of tying now. So basically, Meganium loses the matchups against most of the other grasses, but it can totally flip that core. So that Lapras Dragonair core, which I feel like is also going to be a lot of trios, not just teams. Maybe Lapras could possibly be replaced as the meta goes on, but that's something that we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But anyway, Meganium, definitely a pick you can't sleep on. Charizard comes in at number 4, has a better win rate than both Venusaur and Meganium with Fire Spin, Blast Burn and Dragon Claw. So no surprise, but it takes care of all of the grass and bug types. Ivysaur, Venusaur, Gloom, Blossom, Sceptile, Dustox, Richibel, Plant Wormadam, Ludicolo, Meganium, Beedrill, Venomoth, they're all gone. As are Frostlass, Glalie, Infestation Drapion, Celio, Snowy Castform, Blaziken, Ninetales and Torkoal. So kind of a varied sort of thing there. He beats a lot of the fire types. There are a couple fire types that are in that bottom one. Actually, let's just get into the bottom one. So the loses up against the water types. Again, no surprise. The full list being Shelgon, Flygon, Dragonair, Skuntank, Muk, Typhlosion, Kingdra, Whiscash, Haunter, Lantern, Blastoise, Lapras, Banette, Quagsire, Randy Castform and Swampert. And then tying up against itself and tying up against Ice Fang Drapion. So basically, he's good against what he's good against. He has Dragon Claw, which can also throw some pretty quick damage at the dragons, even if it's not coming out on top at the end, so it's not like Dragonair is coming out completely scarless. Dragonair takes some damage, and so yeah, that's what it is. Charizard, a pretty simple Pokemon. Nothing too fancy there, so let's just move on. So immediately following Charizard, we've got Swampert at number 5 on PvPoke, so that's actually 4 out of the top 5 being starter Pokemon, so, you know. Anyway, equaling Charizard for the largest number of wins against the meta. It has 21 wins out of 39. That's the meta, like this Timeless Cup meta picture thingy, it's 39 Pokemon. So it's been run with Mudshot, Hydro Cannon and Earthquake, but you can replace Earthquake with one of its other charge moves if you wish. You could throw on Surf, Sludge Wave or Muddy Water. Muddy Water, you probably should, don't go with Muddy Water, just don't. The super spammy Hydro Cannon. I mean, as you'd expect, it takes out all of the fire types. Sunny Castform, Ninetales, Torkoal, Charizard, Typhlosion, Blaziken, and it's also able to dish out a lot of pain to Skuntank, Banette, Dustox, both Ice Fang and Infestation Drapion, Muk, Lantern, Blastoise, Dragonair, Beedrill, Kingdra, Shelgon, Haunter, Lapras, and Whiscash. So just to summarise here, we have the large and wide win rate categories of Charizard with the Dragonair and Lapras handling capabilities of Meganium, and even spammier than Venusaur. So Swampert is definitely one of the toppest tier starters to pick. It does come with a massive weakness to grass, like you're really just not going to be doing anything to those grasses. And on top of all of the grasses, Swampert also ties with Snowy Castform, Flygon, Plant Wormadam and itself, and then loses to Raining Castform, which is actually interesting. Anyway, ignoring that one, it also loses to Venomoth, Frostlass, Celio, Glalie, and Quagsire. So, definitely something that you should consider. Moving on, we've got Ivysaur at the number 10 slot, and it basically acts as a Venusaur substitute. So if you happen to be doing your Timeless Cup before the 14th, don't have your hands on a Frenzy Plant Venusaur but really want to use it, Ivysaur is probably your guy. So for that role, you would run Vine Whip, Power Whip, which is basically like a Frenzy Plant substitute, it's a little worse, and then Sludge Bomb. So you've still got Vine Whip and Sludge Bomb, just to kind of downgrade to Frenzy Plant. So with that said, it obviously performs a little worse than Venusaur, but it largely does the same job. Just really quickly, it beats Blossom, Blastoise, Lantern, Ludicolo, Meganium, Raining Castform, Swampert, Quagsire, Victreebel, Kingdra, Flygon, Gloom, and actually Lapras, which also a fun little fact. I mean, Venusaur doesn't do that, so keep that in mind. Another fun fact is that Ivysaur only ties with Whiscash, depending on shielding of course, alongside ties with itself and Sceptile. So Ivysaur isn't able to take out Whiscash, which interesting. Again, depends on shields. Whiscash obviously has the Mud Bomb bait. But then Ivysaur loses to the rest. Typhlosion, Glalie, Plant Wormadam, Shelgon, Venusaur, both movesets of Drapion, Ninetales, Skuntank, Torkoal, Muk, Banette, Beedrill, Celio, Haunter, Dustox, Frostlass, Blaziken, Snowy Castform, Dragonair, Sunny Castform, Charizard, and Venomoth. So, as I said before, it's a replacement for Venusaur. If you don't have Venusaur, need to do your cup early. It's not a bad pick. Like, it's still 10th in the meta. That's nothing to sneeze at. But moving on to a more unique starter, Blastoise comes in at number 12 on PvPoke, running Water Gun, Hydro Cannon, and Ice Beam. So you can probably expect Ice Beam gives it some really good coverage. It's able to hit the grasses and dragons hard if you get one through. And then Hydro Cannon, it's there to do some fantastic quick damage. Blastoise only has one fewer win than Charizard and Swampert, with 20 wins. Those wins being up against Torkoal, Snowy Castform, both Drapion movesets, Sunny Castform, did I say that before? Snowy and Sunny Castforms, Glalie, Plant Wormadam, Ninetales, Charizard, Blaziken, Frostlass, Venomoth, Whiscash, Muk, Dustox, Flygon, Quagsire, Typhlosion, Haunter, and Skuntank. It only ties up against itself, has no other special ties. Then loses to Lapras, Kingdra, Rainy Castform, Celio, Banette, Beedrill, Lantern, Swampert, Shelgon, Dragonair, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Meganium, Sceptile, Gloom, Blossom, Victreebel, and Ludicolo. So basically a lot of the grass types, no duh, but as I said before, if you can get an Ice Beam through, it's a massive damage. If like shields are down, or if they just decide to not shield, thinking it's going to be a Hydro Cannon, they'll be all good, they will not be all good. It can be a really solid pick that does some great damage. Might be exactly what you need when your back is up against the wall in that shieldless scenario. But anyway, moving on. Last and technically least in terms of the starters we're talking about today, but certainly not least overall, Blaziken. Blaziken is unique in that he has access to counter as a quick move. It is recommended to be paired with Blast Burn and Blaze Kick, which is double fire charge moves, but you do have to remember that he's running counter instead of a fire quick move, so you do need that fire coverage. With this, he's able to take out all of the ice types, Glalie, Lapras, Snowy Castform, Celio, Frostlass, and is able to take out most of the grass and bugs. Ivysaur, Sceptile, Blossom, Ludicolo, Gloom, Meganium, Pidgeybell, and Beedrill. It also wins up against Torkoal, both Drapion movesets, Typhlosion and Skuntank, ties up against itself, Quagsire and Venusaur, then loses to Charizard, Ninetales, Muck, Dragonair, Dustox, Flygon, Shogun, Blastoise, Kingdra, Rainy Castform, Swampert, Lantern, Whiscash, Banette, Plant, Wormadam, Venomoth, and Haunter. So because Blaziken runs counter instead of any fast quick move, it doesn't have the grass and bug matchups as nailed down as would be nice for a fire starter, but it also has that fire fighting subtiding, which makes it extra weak to the confusion uses too. So I mean, we're definitely kind of going down the tiers, but past these starters in the top 20, there's Typhlosion just missing out at number 21, who has Shadow Claw as a fast charging fast move, Blast Burn, Solar Beam, great closing move. The fact that Shadow Claw does have decent energy generation helps out in this scenario, and if you can land that closing Solar Beam on a water user, perfect. Like, you've won. That's sick. You might be thinking that even though I said that I'd only be discussing the starters in the top 20 meta, and because you're seeing this image in front of you, hey, I must have made them for all the starters. But no, that is not true. I just accidentally did one for Typhlosion when I was supposed to be doing one for Charizard, so here we are. If you happen to want one for Typhlosion, then this is here too. So you can screenshot, go through. You can screenshot any of them. Just screenshot, they'll be there if you need it, if you haven't been using something. If you need to, like, on the fly go, hey, what is this speed in the one shield? Okay, I've got it. Here's a thingy. So Typhlosion is then followed by Charmeleon at number 28, who doesn't need any Community Day moves again, so if you've got one before the 14th, another option. Sceptile comes at number 30, actually also without Community Day moves, interesting. Groddle at number 40, which is way above Torterra. You don't want Torterra here. Marshtomp comes in at number 53, Grovyle at 61, and I think that's probably far enough down the list. You're probably not going to use a starter under Grovyle unless you're like going for some real spice. So that's a run through of the Timeless Cup starters. Make sure you're subscribed for all of the future Timeless Cup goodness. This video actually did take a surprisingly long amount of time to put together, like just moving all of these graphics around. So I'd really appreciate if you... Hashtag Team Trees is still going, it's just past 16 million trees. Go donate so they can get to 20 million trees. Okay, thanks, bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you to Meal Time for being an amazing human being. I'll see you in the next video.